Okay, got it. Oh, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, I will make it like this. Okay, so I will talk about the perspective of the European Green Deal in Slovakia in terms of energy security. But first, let me make a general context of the change of the energy security perception in the European Union. So again, energy security is in the center of the attention, and the synonym of energy security is to decrease dependence on Russian fossil fuels. The Russian is very important here because we are now developing other dependence on other countries, but Green Deal could be the solution. The idea of Green Deal at first was having relatively cheap natural gas from Russia together with renewables, but this is of course no longer an option. And there is so-called natural gas dilemma, which is the role of natural gas in the future. There are many investments required and policy coordination. So there are two approaches, or we should build new infrastructure, new interconnections, new LNG terminals, or even domestic extraction, versus there are other options, including energy efficiency, biogas, or hydrogen. I see that you cannot see my presentation, so you see only the first slide, right?
Could you start the slideshow, please?
Yes.
Because we see only the first slide.
Choose the right screen. Oh, I get you.
Okay.
I see that you are not seeing that.
We see.
You have to choose the right display when sharing the screen.
Yeah. Okay, now you see the three types of arguments, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going a little bit back. So the natural gas together with oil is of course the biggest concern currently in the European Union, but also especially in post-communist countries. So which approach should we use now in these times? There is the vision that the Green Deal is dead. It was the words of former Prime Minister of Czech Republic, Mirek Topolánek, and something suggests that yes, this view is supported by use of more domestic coal in countries that were anti-coal for many years, such as Germany or Italy, but also other European countries. But the approach of European Commission, especially the Repower strategy, is that Green Deal is an opportunity to finally get rid of fossil fuels dependence. International Energy Agency identified three types of arguments for energy transition that we should use when communicating rising prices or prices for transition. The first, and it is very relevant in Slovakia, but also in other post-communist countries, are high energy prices of natural gas especially, but also for oil, and instability of the market. The second types of arguments are climate change, but in our countries, it is not that relevant for a majority of population. And of course, the third one is the war in Ukraine. According to the latest Eurobarometer, 85% of Europeans think that we should reduce our dependency and support Ukraine also this way. So it is quite high number. When we look at Slovakia in particular, the biggest problem is with natural gas. The advantage of our country is that it is small, so we have relatively small consumption, around 5 billion of cubic meters per year, which is not that much. But disadvantage is that we do not have an access to sea. So the good news for us that we have made diversification efforts, so we have access to Poland and also to Croatia, and also through the last years we have made methane leaks adjustments that are also important within natural gas infrastructure. So currently we have short and long-term measures. Short-term measure, the first one is to finally finish a Polish-Slovak interconnector. It should be in operation this summer. Then what we are doing, that Slovakia is booking LNG imports at the ports of other countries. We have already booked capacities in Belgium, Croatia, and Italy. And we have managed to 66% decrease of Russian gas dependence. This rate should last until the end of 2023, the next year. So that is good news. And also we have booked Norwegian gas capacity. Within the long-term measures, it is more complicated because there is the issue of domestic extraction. According to first estimates, we can cover around 10% of consumption. Then investing into new infrastructure. The idea of East String pipeline is currently at the table, getting gas from Romania, Bulgaria through Hungary to Slovakia. And then, of course, increasing storage capacities and looking for alternatives. These alternatives are connected to Green Deal policy. I will talk about this in next slides. Within oil, it is a little bit easier, but Slovakia has an opt-out from oil EU sanctions because we have refinery in Bratislava that is processing Russian oil. So that's the problem. And also the problematic are the new allies since the Arabic countries have oil, it's new dependence on Qatar and United Arab Emirates. The very big shift is also in perceiving nuclear energy, as it is no longer perceived as fully domestic source, which has been until the war in Ukraine. So there is then discussion of alternative supplier of nuclear fuel, but the problem is that the process to switch to another fuel will last about 9 years, which is a very long time. So we are discussing to make it shorter, but still it lasts 3 to 4 years. And also we have to finish 2 reactors in Mohoce that should have been put in operation 10 years ago, but they are in huge delays. So talking about renewables and energy efficiency, we are going to the main policy of Green Deal, which is Fit for 55 package presented last July. When it was before the war, but it is still in negotiation. Why the Commission presented it? Because with current targets, the EU is not on track to reach its 2030 climate objectives, and there would be at least a 10% gap for emissions reduction. So the European Commission came with several several measures, several ideas, and I put with orange color that are important for Slovakia, but also for other V4 countries. The most controversial one is extending the ETS system to road, transport, and building. That means that, for example, who has all the diesel car or burn coal should bear higher costs than it is now. Then it is the carbon border adjustment mechanism that it's very, very hotly debated because we are intensively industrial country. So that is something that is really vital for our country. Then it is updated renewable energy directive going in even higher share of the renewables, and we are very much struggling with that. Then there are emission standards for cars and vans by 2035, which again is very important for us because we are manufacturing cars. So these are basically very big challenges, but also opportunities. And I would like to say a few words about opportunities. There are several sectors that are vital for decarbonization, and Green Deal really can help in reducing dependency on natural gas. Heat pumps that were relatively unknown before the war are booming now. There are many people in family houses buying heat pumps, opting heat pumps, which is a good sign. Another thing is the geothermal potential of Slovakia. It is very high but unused. For example, geothermal could be used in heating of the second largest city in Slovakia. Another option is biogas. We already have 100 biogas stations, and if we currently can use them, they would cover about 10% of domestic consumption, which is a very good number. And also the new legislation was introduced starting the next year, this year, is the obligation to collect bio-waste. That is something that was already for years in Western countries, but not in Slovakia. And finally, this is something that can partially help to decrease natural gas dependence. And of course, there are energy efficiency measures. What is currently going on is the providing regional centers that would support citizens to advise how to save more energy, where they can get information, what are their options. And also there is the project that 30,000 family houses will be completely renovated with quite generous support for the renovation. It's a small number, but it is important to do many policies now. The problem is that there is lack of qualified people in construction sector and also energy management. In Slovakia in particular, because majority of people in the construction sector are from Ukraine. And this is something that will be a problem also in future because our biggest interest is to help Ukraine and another problem is the lack of energy efficiency strategy with specific targets and goals. We have several strategies, but they are not very well interconnected. And another issue is the energy poverty problem. There is more targeted support needed. There are many people, around 10%, that are burning plastic waste and wood that is not dry as it should be. And it is questionable if these people are willing to pay for some other solutions. So it's really important to target help to them. government of the Slovak Republic came last week with the strategy of energy efficiency in public buildings. In Slovakia, we have around 50,500 public buildings. These are especially schools and public administration. And they came with a plan to reduce 20% of energy on heating. And they divided it into 3 measures. I hope that you can see this. They counted the financial costs. If some measure has no additional costs or low or medium, then they identified the saving potential, if it is high, medium, or low. And the third point is the time of the measure. So with the green color, there is the temperature reduction in heated room at least 1%. It is with no additional costs because it costs nothing. It is the immediate measure. You can do it now, and it has medium saving potential. So they identified 10 points. What can we do with high saving potential? There are 3 measures with medium costs. The first one is introduction of effective management. The second is attic of or roof insulation. Then renewable energy sources, and also the third one, energy saving LED lights. So all these measures put together should save 20%, which is quite a remarkable number, and it is not that costly. When it comes to renewables, I put also the comparison with other Visegrad 4 countries, just to give you an idea. Renewables are crucial in energy self-sufficiency, but also meeting climate targets, but Slovakia is not really using them. Solar makes less than 3% of electricity production. Wind, we have 5 turbines, and geothermal, I was talking already, we do not use it, even potential is very, very high. However, with, again, currently rising of energy prices, we are experiencing boom of solar panels in small companies, but also in family houses. If we look at the share of the renewables, we see that all V4 countries are not doing very good, because if you look at the Commission's recommendation, how much of renewables should we have, all countries proposed lower level in 2030 national energy and climate plans. So Czechia put 22 instead of 23, Slovakia 19 instead of 24. So we are really below. And with Fit for 55 package, this number should be even higher. And we are talking about meeting this goal in 8 years. So it's really questionable if we are able to rise it, but let's hope that this boom with solar and exploring of geothermal would really help. The Fit for 55 package counts with 40% of share of renewables, and the repower strategy that was presented by the Commission now with 45%. So it is even higher number. Another sector that is very promising in decarbonization and also reducing dependence on oil is, of course, transport sector. People here are worried because it is part of proposed ETS extension system. And if we look at the figure on the left, we can see that in all V4 countries, the average age of passenger car is higher than in the EU. So we basically have all the cars. Also, if you look at the figure on the right, there is a rise of passenger car. All over the years, it was not stopped even in 2020 when COVID started. So this is very problematic, and the infrastructure is very low for electric cars. I put figure from 2020, and it is again for all V4 countries with different ratios. So when we look at Poland, they have the biggest number of electric charging stations, almost 1,700, but the ratio for number of inhabitants is very low. It's the blue bar. In Slovakia, the orange bar seems to be very good, that we have a very good ratio of charging station per electric cars. We have a ratio that should be in the European Union, but it is also that we have a very small number of electric cars. We have only around 2,000, and Hungary, on the other hand, has very small orange ratio, but they have almost 40,000 electric cars. So it's really different. And you can see it on the strategies of electric transport. In Czechia, they plan to have 500,000 electric cars by 2030, and in Slovakia only 35,000. So it's really a huge difference. In Poland, 600,000 electric vehicles by 2025. Also, in terms of charging points, the numbers are very different. Czechia 35,000, Slovakia only 1,500. So we really need to adjust this. According to calculation of the European Commission, if we want to decrease emissions from road transport by 50%, that is by half, we need 6 million electric charging points. Now we have only 200 and like 200,000. So we should have 27 times more than it is now. And of course, the majority of the charging points are in Netherlands and Germany. So we have to opt for even more. And the sector that is bringing the biggest hopes in Slovakia is industry. I put 2 tables from analysis that was released last week by the financial unit at the Ministry of Finance. And they are dealing with decarbonization potential in Slovakia. If you are interested, it is published in English, so I can send you a link, because it is very good material. It's the first analysis made in Slovakia, and they calculated that the biggest potential for decarbonization are in steel industry. It is the table number 1, the second column, that if they replace electric arc furnaces in US steel company, they can save together around 10% of overall emissions in Slovakia. So steel sector is definitely something that also is considering to get financial aid. Another sector is cement industry, where the potential is also very high. I'm not going really into detail of this, but I can send you the link. It's very interesting study, and I think it's also inspirational. And to conclude, so I do not really share the view that Green Deal is dead and we should somehow abandon our green goals. I see it as opposite, because decarbonization is crucial for getting rid of Russian dependence. also meeting climate goals, and not to mention air quality in Slovakia, which is among the worst in the EU. And these sectors are responsible for that. Also, there are rising energy prices, which makes people to be more interested into renewables and energy savings, which is good. So the sectors that are key are heating with energy efficiency measures first, then the transport sector that was identified as the most problematic because it requires public transport improvement and also modernization of railways. In Slovakia, there is 2 billion euro on debt on railways, which is a huge number. Also, state aid is required in industry sector, especially steel sector, which has biggest potential to decarbonize. And coal power plants, it's something that is happening already in Slovakia. They will be phased out next year. However, there are new challenges, of course. There are financial costs. I know that this sum is very, very problematic because the Institute has calculated that additional cost would be somewhere between 2.6 to 30.5 billion. So it really depends on many factors, including also the carbon price. So we will see how it will go. And in a short term, it is the risk of creating new gas and oil dependence. So it is in our interest really to getting rid of oil and gas soonest it is possible. New sources going to electromobility, for example, require new dependence. So also circular economy, it is very much needed, but it's very difficult for policy coordination. And this is something that we've been talking for many years, that better policy coordination of all the ministries is required to meet climate goals, and now the situation is even more complicated. So let's hope that the ministries will be able to find to communicate better and to coordinate themselves better, because it is easier to build a new gas infrastructure, for example, even if it is costly, than to make 50 small policies to reduce dependence on fossil fuels. So I would like to stop here and thank you for your attention.
Good. Thank you, Veronika, for sharing those very interesting information and experience of Visegrad countries. Just I will ask someone if you have any questions on now with Veronika, we can ask and translate. Yeah.
Veronika, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here to see you again, of course, in online, but I hope and see you in person in the near future. Veronika, thank you for your presentation. I would like to ask you and to share in this for this presentation, because it's very important and information is here, including in transport issues. And I have a quick question, and you are talking about in transport and mobility and transport and activity and so on. I'm interested in, and do we have an electric vehicle and strategy and or action plan? Because, and as you are aware, we are working on the NECP, and NECP and covers of the transport issues, and as you are aware, we have a concrete obligation to renewable energy using in the transport sectors, and how to implementations and measures and clean energies transport and so on. It's very important, and to take in some information from your country and from your experience, and how to implementation and the transport and the activities in the NECP, and please to inform and to have a concrete action plan and electric vehicle and strategy as well. It's very important for us because you are talking about in targets, and of course, and renewable energy targets. It's ambitious in the country, but also when here is a concrete obligation and the renewable energy in transport, also in hydrogen issues and hydrogen and practical project and so on. It's very useful information and important and information for us. Thank you.
Yes, I would just to react that the action plan is very good in Czech Republic because they increased the ambition, and also in Hungary they're already going with a good direction. I would not give Slovakia as a good example of this because really the numbers are very low. We're opting for just 35,000 of electric cars by 2030, which is very low number. Considering that each year there are 100,000 of car registration. So it's just 1/3 of yearly new car registrations. This is something I can recommend the Czech or Hungarian strategy in this case. And regarding the hydrogen strategy, it was very relevant last year. And now after the Russian invasion is not really. Because everyone knows that we have to invest many it's very costly investment with very uncertain results, because we do not know how to produce hydrogen in a green way. So this is something that is halted now, and I think that we have to wait also for a European strategy. Because they released the hydrogen strategy, but I do not think that it is relevant anymore.
Sure.
But the potential that is here is to use hydrogen in industry. Actually, the biggest
First categories,
one company called Duslo, they are doing fertilizers in Slovakia, and they are consuming 10% of all natural gas consumption from the country, 10%, which is very high number. And they're also the highest producers of hydrogen, because they produce it in their company and they consume it. So this is something that would be an option for industrial countries.
Sure. Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you, Veronica. And now we'll continue with our findings in Georgia and regarding the Green Deal. And thank you once again. And if you provide those documents and sources you mentioned during your presentation, that would be great.
Yes,
thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Częściej wyzwiekała, gdy masz prezentację. Ari, I'm Green Deal is 13 calories.